Hello, my name is Cody Bottas. I'm from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I was born November 10th, 1984, and raised as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. I was baptized as a full-fledged member Saturday, December 23rd, 1995, at 11 years old. And this video is to officially announce my disassociation from the Jehovah's Witness organization. So some of you watching this video, you're already reaching for the little X in the corner because I have texted you the link to this video. You're probably getting ready to close this out, block my phone number, but I hope you keep watching. I texted you this link even though most of you who know me personally haven't spoken to me in almost 2 years. I kept your phone number all this time just for this occasion. So I hope you keep watching. Why did I send it to you personally instead of just sending it out in the world? Those of you who know me and those of you who know me locally, you may hear the announcement when this comes out, and I want you to know why. It bothered me to the core when the organization changed the rules and stopped stating whether it was a disfellowshipping or a disassociation, and I need you to know that I left of my own my own choice for conscientious reasons. Those of you who don't know me personally, I was raised a Jehovah's Witness. Both my parents were raised in the religion. I am the second child of 4. I'm the second boy of 4 boys. And when I was about 6 years old, my dad came to my room just before bed and asked me, do you love Jehovah? And I said, of course I love Jehovah. I'm a kid. All I've heard are stories about Noah's Ark and Jesus healing people, all the fun stuff. So I said, yes, of course, I love Jehovah. And he said, well, you need to show that you love Jehovah. I said, okay. Yeah, I go to meetings, I go in service. What else do we need to do? He said, well, you need to get baptized. To which I replied, okay. Yeah, I guess one day. And then he really doubled down and he said, you don't understand. Armageddon is coming one day now. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. Armageddon is coming one day now, any day now, rather. And anybody who's not baptized, who hasn't shown Jehovah outwardly that they love him by getting baptized, they're gonna die. And just terrified, absolutely terrified. I didn't sleep a wink that night. I went from being just a blissfully ignorant kid, reading Bible stories to being terrified and having so many questions. And it did the trick. It did the trick. I really started to study. I really started to work towards baptism at such a young age. That was when I was 5 or 6. When I was about 10 years old. We moved cities, and my parents, like a lot of parents do, Jehovah's Witness parents do, they took me and my brothers out of school. We started homeschooling, and not too long after that, 10 years old or so, started going over the baptism questions with some of the elders in the congregation. My dad actually studied the book for me. It was the same way that he studied our Sunday watchtowers for us. He would read the paragraph and he would say, start underlining here, and we would follow along as he read until he said stop. So that's basically how my baptism questions studying went, and he told me what to write in the margins for personal heartfelt notes. Sometimes he would actually take my book for me and make the notes himself. But regardless, it worked. Saturday, December 23rd, 1995, I was 11 years old and I was baptized. As many of you who were raised as witnesses and were baptized can attest, the baptism talk was a little bit of a horror show. Essentially, thinking, okay, well, finally I've done it. I'm safe now. I'm not going to be murdered at Armageddon. I'm fine. Everything's going to be okay. The baptism talk consisted of the brother on stage telling us that now that we are baptized and we're newly baptized, the personification of evil has his eyes on us. He's specifically coming for us. He's going to put everything else on the back burner. He's coming for you. So, absolutely terrified. Regardless, it was done. I'd been baptized. I was a literally card-carrying member of the Jehovah's Witnesses, and I could be held accountable for any sin that I committed. I had no idea that that was the case, being so young, but I'd signed the lifelong contract, whereas, if I broke the rules from here on out at the age of 11, I could be held accountable. I did break the rules. I broke the rules a lot before I was baptized and afterwards. I was a silly kid. I was a little bit of a deviant. All kinds of pranks, vandalism, stupid stuff, mischief at the Kingdom Hall, stuff that I really could have gotten in trouble for. And I would feel discomfort if I got an idea in my head and I needed to do something. If I had an idea to do something silly and I didn't do it, I actually felt uncomfortable if I didn't do it. Looking into this later in life, I found out some of those underlying reasons, some of those things that made resisting those urges so difficult. But we can go into that a little later. Regardless, I tried to be good, tried to behave. I reined in most of my bad behavior. Until, as most boys do when they're that age, I discovered that my God-given member could be used for more than just pee-pee. It happened. It happens to every little kid, but I was, super young, newly baptized, and I was terrified. I was scared that I sinned. I ran back, grabbed my young people ask book, old blue, and quickly turned to those pages, those 2 chapters that my father had unceremoniously skipped over when we read the book together the first time. So I scrambled. I found those 2 chapters on masturbation, and started poring over them, just terrified, looking for that sentence that said that I was done, that I was maggot food. And all I saw was just indefinite language, just very, very loose, very uncertain language thing. I think the beginning of the first chapter on it starts out saying, this practice, isn't mentioned anywhere in the Bible. In fact, at the time that the Bible was written, there were several Greek words that the writers of the Bible could have used to describe this practice, but none of them are actually found in the Bible. Does this mean that it's harmless? Absolutely not. So that really seemed strange to me. It seemed strange to me, and it was one of my first doubts. If I'm truly honest about it, that was one of my first doubts when I was 11, maybe 12 years old. Doubting the governing body knew what they were doing, thinking that they got something wrong. If I'm truly honest with myself, I was just trying to justify what I was doing because I had no intention of stopping. And hey, I was a kid. The next 6 months were basically a blur of doing that anywhere and anywhere. Kingdom Hall, coffee breaks, anywhere, until there was a local needs talk. And for any of you who weren't raised as Jehovah's Witnesses, a local needs talk, once a month there would be a talk for the congregation if there had been an issue in the congregation. If nothing had come up, if nothing had been a major issue, these talks would be about, brothers and sisters, we need to spend less time at the coffee breaks on Saturday, or, we need to bump up our comments at the Sunday Watchtower study. But when somebody had actually gotten in trouble for something, the local needs talk would be on that topic. So basically, somebody would be, anonymous. They would be punished publicly with an announcement, but they wouldn't say what happened. And then a week later, there would be a local needs talk, and it would be on whatever happened. Everybody knew what was going on, but yeah, there was a local needs talk on that subject, and it terrified me, absolutely terrified me. I convinced myself that there was nothing wrong with it, which there is nothing wrong with it. But hearing it from the stage absolutely scared the living daylights out of me, and I decided I had to stop. I had to stop doing it. I had to please Jehovah. So what I did was make a promise. Now, when little kids are little kids, they make their promises. And there's all kinds of ways to make promises when you're a kid. I cross my heart, I hope to die. Pinky swear, I promise 3 times. There's all these things that kids did. I don't know if this is something that a lot of other witnesses did, but my family and my grouping of friends when I was a kid, as a witness, we did this thing called Promise to Jehovah. And basically, what it entailed was you could use it for anything. It was the skeleton key. It was the be all end all. If you were trying to convince somebody of something that you did or didn't do, you could say, I promise to Jehovah I did or didn't do that. And you could use it against people too. If you wanted that last cookie in the jar and somebody else is after, you could say, I promise to Jehovah that cookie's mine. It was silly, absolutely silly. But the idea was, and the understanding was amongst kids my age, that if you broke a promise to Jehovah, you're not going to die at Armageddon. You're dead. You're dead. There's a comet coming for you right now. It's on its way. So that's how I made my mind up that I was going to stop this horrible practice that they had to have a local needs talk about. I looked at myself in the mirror just before bed and I said, I promise to Jehovah I will never touch myself in that way again. It's silly. But yeah, I felt great. I went to bed. I slept like a baby. And I didn't last 12 hours. That was actually a Saturday night. And I did it the next day at the Kingdom Hall before the meeting started. So I had a full-blown panic attack afterwards. I passed out. I woke up between the toilet and the wall. And I was convinced I was dead. I was convinced I was dead at any moment. And the only reason that a flaming comet or a lightning bolt hadn't hit me was that I was inside the hall. So yeah, it didn't happen. I didn't die. I didn't die that day. I didn't die the day after that. I didn't die the week after that or the month after that. And again, started to wonder what was going on. Started to question things. My parents pushed me to pioneer. Myself and my older brother, we were both baptized on the same day. I applied. Sure, yeah, they want me to pioneer. I'll apply. I never thought that I would be approved, but I was. And again, I'm wondering what's going on. I said, okay, I got approved, but I'll never make it to my start date. I did. So I'm wondering what's going on, because I was always told and I was always explained that, everything that's done in the organization is done based on God's Spirit. If He doesn't want something to happen, or if somebody's not worthy of something, it's not going to happen. So I was very, very confused, and scared, because I still thought I was going to be killed at any moment. But anyways, I became a regular pioneer. My acceptance letter came back, and there was a little note on it mentioning that I was going to be the at the time, the youngest in Canada. I believe I was 13 or 14 at the time. And yeah, that's all it did, was just give me doubt. Give me doubts. I wasn't comfortable doing it because I didn't feel worthy of doing it. So I was the young regular pioneer who, if there was a group of 5 and I was the odd man out, I'd volunteer to work by myself. And I would fake knock. I wouldn't really knock. I'd fake ring the doorbell. I'd just stand at the door until it was time to walk away. I hated it. I absolutely hated it. My older brother started pioneering before me, about 6 months to a year before me. And he was really looked up to in the congregation. We were both really young, so the old folks patted him on the back. The kids younger than us looked up to him. But then he was disfellowshipped. He was 13 or 14, so I was 12 or 13 at the time, whatever it was. Yeah, it came out of the blue. He was disfellowshipped. What had happened was there was suspicion that he had done something at first, and the elders had questioned him about it, and he denied it. He said, "No, never happened. Wasn't me." But then he was caught red-handed. So I found out about this, and this actually brought me huge relief, because what he had been disfellowshipped for, I was doing too. So I said, okay, God hasn't murdered me yet. Maybe I don't fully understand the promise to Jehovah concept, but my brother was doing something. He was caught for it. He was disfellowshipped. I'm doing the same thing. I've done the same thing. I'll get caught. I'll get disfellowshipped. If God's not going to kill me, I'm at least content waiting for him to catch me and disfellowship me. I had no intention of turning myself in. I thought, why should I do that? God knows everything. He's gonna reveal himself. So the day that my brother was announced, though, changed my mood and my perspective on the whole thing, because my brother was announced as being disfellowshipped, and after the meeting, everybody's crying and hugging, and I found out that I was the new focus of the congregation's hopes and their dreams and their aspirations. I was going to be the one to, continue pioneering, and then be, a young ministerial servant and an elder, and then a circuit overseer, and maybe the governing body member one day. And it just drove me insane, because it wasn't just the people in my congregation, it was my parents who were thinking these things. And I was so angry. I was angry at God, why, if he's such a loving God and he's planning on outing me any moment now, why would he let these fools believe that I was this great thing? Why are you taking your time? This isn't just cruel to me anymore, making me wait. This is cruel to them. You're gonna crush their dreams. I could have come forward again and admitted to everything, but I didn't feel like I had to. It's his job. Again, more questions, and basically what this did was just light a fire in me of just bitterness and anger. And I said, okay, he's not nailing me for what I've done. He'll nail me for what I'm about to do. And I was just determined to go out in a blaze of glory. The next, I pioneered for about a year and a half. The next year and a half was just madness. I was determined to get caught. Absolute madness and destruction that I'm not going to go into on YouTube without speaking to a lawyer first. Silliness, absolute silliness. Suffice it to say, I'm hanging out with other Jehovah's Witness kids. For the next year and a half, all I heard almost nightly was, "Aren't you a regular pioneer? Aren't you a regular pioneer? Ho! Aren't you a regular pioneer?" All the time. We're up to all kinds of foolishness, and I never got caught. I was never even questioned. And of course, I'm hanging out with other witness kids doing these things. I'm not by myself. So I kept on asking myself, do my friends believe? Do they believe? Do they, what's going on? Do they either don't believe in the Jehovah's Witness doctrine, or they're, they've sinned too. They've done something so horrible that they're a write-off like me, and they're just, waiting it out. Anyways, I pioneered from, I think it was late 1998 to early 2000, but I never went to the pioneer school. I started about a month too late to pioneer. Typically you start in September. For whatever reason, I was held up. It was something like that. I didn't get to go to the pioneer school. But in 2000, the reason I stopped pioneering was, I don't know why my, this would have been offered to me, but a choice was put to me saying, it's kind of now or never. It's up to you what you want to do, but you can either return to high school and finish schooling, or you keep pioneering. It's now or never kind of thing. Decide what you want to do. And I jumped on it. I said, oh, thank you. Okay, I'll stop pioneering. Going back to high school, and my parents will kick themselves when they find this out. Going back to high school was more or less where I lost my faith. That's where I started learning about other beliefs. The witnesses, they have their Mankind Search for God book, which I really liked when I was a kid, and it kind of goes into other religions and other beliefs and things like that. But it's just the tip of the iceberg, and it really doesn't explain things properly. Finding out about other beliefs, other religions, other people, and then going into, evolution, and how people don't regard it as a theory, in the sense that witnesses laugh about it and say, it's a theory. They don't really know what's happening. No, it's a theory, as in a scientific theory that has been proven by repeated results, consistently again and again and again. But that's another conversation. And I found out that other people were good. I found that, witnesses aren't really allowed to hang out with non-witnesses. And being homeschooled, I was really isolated. But going back to school and meeting new people and finding out that people were good and they were nice was a shock to me. It really sent it home, that everything that I was always told about these worldly people wasn't true. I started to realize what a small group we were and how arrogant Jehovah's Witnesses were, how many religions there are out there, how many different groups that claim to be Christian there are out there. And this small group that, is 100 years old, they claim to have the monopoly on truth. It really made me see how arrogant the organization was. And I was shocked how easily, the organization discourages people from finding higher education. But I was shocked, like a high school education can easily dismantle, Jehovah's Witness indoctrination if you pay attention. Right around that time that I went back to school, that was the first time that I searched Jehovah's Witnesses online, and I found out all kinds of other stuff. I learned so much more about the blood doctrine and how it's unscriptural, and I learned about 587 versus 607. I started hearing things about child abuse, and I knew a few people personally who had suffered abuse. I started learning things, and basically what this did was make my behavior 10 times worse. If I was on a rampage before, this just amplified it tenfold. I remember my parents at one point, after an incident where some of my other friends got in trouble, but I hadn't somehow, they told me that I was only allowed to hang out with baptized people. So I was 15, 16 maybe, I think still 15. I didn't have any friends that were baptized. I was the only one. I ran away for a couple days when they told me that. But yeah, shortly after that, my family decided they were moving. They were moving provinces. We're moving 8 hours away. And I ramped it up again. Started acting up. I was caught shoplifting. I didn't care. I didn't even try to hide it. I was just trying to do whatever I could to just sabotage what was happening. But regardless, we moved 2001. I decided I was going to make a break for it. No friends. I didn't want to make any friends. I didn't want anybody to be attached to. I just wanted to leave. Because I knew if I made friends, they're going to drop me when I leave. But I completely failed. I made some of the best friends I've ever had in my life here in Edmonton, and they kept me trapped for a really long time. I finished high school between 2001 to 2004, which is a long time to take to finish high school, but I developed severe depression and insomnia. I barely slept. I think at the worst of it, I was sleeping like 6 hours a week, just little cat naps here and there, until I turned 18. I started drinking to fall asleep. I drank myself to sleep for years. I was a full-blown alcoholic. I started smoking cigarettes. I hid that from my family somehow. I burned copious amounts of incense. I burned it in my car, burned it in my bedroom. I'd walk around with a burning stick of incense in my teeth if I thought that my clothes stank. I started smoking cigars when I was 15. I still do. I always have. But anyways, I got my diploma through bits and pieces, learning more and more about the organization online during this time. But I graduated in 2004, and I said, that's it. I got to get away. I packed my things. I moved back to where I was born. Moved in with a friend of mine who I had heard was doing nothing really for the organization, and it was great. I thought I was out. We almost never attended meetings. I didn't shave regularly. I dyed my hair. I went to worldly parties. I celebrated Halloween while I was there. It was great. But my family caught wind that I was basically inactive, and they pulled me back. They guilted me. They pulled me back. Not just my family. I may have been able to stand up to my family, but my friends here from Edmonton, they reached out, and they pulled me back. So I left. I came back to Edmonton. from 2005 to 2010 was basically an uneventful blur. I was just a miserable Jehovah's Witness drone who wanted out, who needed to get out but couldn't. I wasn't willing to lose my friends. And again, the bad behavior continued. At this age, as legal age, we were going to clubs, we were going to bars, we were doing all kinds of silly things, crashing cars, doing ridiculous things. And I would look at my friends and think, like maybe they want out too. Maybe they want out too. Maybe I can talk to them about it. Maybe, and I'd get close. But, when we'd have a heart-to-heart about something, and, they would start talking about the paradise and this and that and how great the organization is. And I would realize that they would never leave. So fast forward, I moved around a lot, moved around for years, eventually got an apartment with my younger brother. And around that time, all of my depression and all of my anxiety really came to a head. I was absolutely miserable. I was stuck. I was depressed. I was anxious. And I started experiencing severe mental problems, for which I did secretly go to a mental health professional for, and just a brief conversation with them. Several conversations. I went for quite a few times, but they diagnosed me with OCD, which I obviously knew about, manic episodes, impulse control problems, and extremely violent ideation. Very, very violent ideas, which mixed with impulse control problems is a bad mix. They put me really quickly on antipsychotics. They said take one every night before bed, carry them with you, and if you start feeling angry, take another one. And I was a zombie, absolute zombie. I hated it. I hated my life, and I knew what the problem was. So I made my mind up. I was leaving. I was leaving no matter what. My grandfather, I have a grandfather who was never a witness. He was actually quite opposed to the Jehovah's Witnesses, and for years he had helped me save up money. I had quite a nest egg saved up, and I was going to go spend it. I didn't care where I was going to go. I didn't care where I ended up. I just had to get away from the witnesses. I was ready to leave. The lease on my apartment was up in a few months, and I was out of there. No goodbyes. I was just going to leave. That was 2013, and I met my future wife, Naomi, and she ruined everything. I'm just kidding. We've had that conversation before. A friend of mine was trying to set me up with another girl, and my wife, my future wife, walked in. And I've tried to describe it to people before. It was basically like that episode of The Simpsons where Seymour Skinner was supposed to be introduced to Selma, but Patty walked into the room first. Patty. That's basically what it was. I don't know. Like my wife absolutely stole the show. Her smile, her laugh, everything. I was in love at first sight. And I knew that she was somebody worth being trapped in this organization for. I couldn't walk away. I knew it wasn't fair to get into a relationship with her, feeling the way that I did without telling her, but I couldn't leave her. And I found out after I already developed feelings for her that she'd been inactive at one point. And I thought, great, awesome. Because I just thought to myself, okay, well, she's been inactive already. She has issues with the organization. She had them before. She'll have them again. I'm not going to push her. I'm not going to pry. Nothing like that. At some point, we'll leave organically. I had no intentions of trying to wake her up. We got married very quickly. A lot of witnesses get married very quickly. We met in February. We got married in July. We met in February, started dating in April, got married in July. We didn't plan on doing that. I got laid off. I had X amount of dollars saved up, and we just said, well, let's just do it. Let's not save up for this big wedding. Let's just get married. We know we're going to get married. But because we got married so quickly, the assumptions started to fly. People assumed that we had sex. That was the reason we were running off and getting married. Nobody talked to us about it, though. The elders didn't ask us. Our friends didn't ask us. But everybody just made their minds up, and we immediately started getting treated differently. That suspicion just hang over top of us. I really tried to be a good Jehovah's Witness for my wife. I really tried. Despite the fact I didn't believe anymore, I really wanted to try for her and do my best. And it would have been a lot harder, I think, to leave, a lot harder to convince her to leave, had we been in one of those congregations that you read about that are loving and wonderful, and everybody's very supportive, and the elders, they really care. You know, they're always looking out for you. They're just shepherding the flock. And at this point, I'd like to give a shout out to the Laurier Heights congregation of Edmonton, Alberta, because any physically and mentally out witness who has a spouse that they're trying to wake up, pack your bags, and just look them up, move in. You'll be out in no time. They're just horrible congregation, dogmatic, pharisaical, elbow washing, boys club. They're awful. They have a core group of long-time members, long-timers that have been there for years, and anybody that moves in that tries to make ripples in the water, they shut them down. Any dissent, they shut them down. Nothing goes their, nothing doesn't go their way, rather. We were in this hall, and I tried to walk the walk and talk the talk and be this head of this household, but nothing. I was allowed no privileges that I had been, that I had since I was 10 years old. Like, I wasn't allowed to hold a microphone. Like, that's like introductory privileges for a witness. They were happy to give me the privilege of scrubbing the toilets, but I wasn't allowed to hold the microphone. Basically, they would tell me you need to do X, Y, Z to get these privileges, and then when I would do X, Y, Z, they'd say, well, you missed A, B, C. So nitpicking, lying, goalpost moving. I tried so hard to cement myself in there. It didn't work, and I started to feel this resentment, like privileges that I never really cared about, never thought about, because I've been doing them since I was a kid. All of a sudden, these are the things that are being dangled over top of me, and they would refuse to give me and a lot of people in that hall privileges, and then they would resent you for not having those privileges. So it was awful, but they did the trick. I at one point said enough is enough. Forget it. If I have nothing to lose, I'll act like I have nothing to lose. And I did something that I wanted to do since I was a kid, which was grow a beard. And it wasn't like this. It wasn't like this. The beard that I grew when I was still active was very short, very closely cropped, very, very neat, very sharp jaw lines. I kept it in check. It was never out of place. But that was it. That sealed the deal. My chances to have privileges was off the books, and honestly, the elders were relieved. They were super happy because they didn't have to have that conversation with me anymore. I wasn't going to ask them about it anymore, because we both knew that me having a beard, it was off the table. There was an extremely brief period where I shaved it off because we had a very well-meaning, very loving, really awesome guy, circuit overseer. And he was about to change circuits. His last visit that he had, he invited me to come talk with him after the meeting, his last meeting, and he basically told me how much he thought I was great. I was a nice guy, and you give such great talks, and you're so well spoken, and we could really use you, and all you got to do is shave the beard. And I explained to him, well, I didn't have this beard forever. Like, I've been trying for years. And then we got into that conversation. And he was shocked that I never had any privileges, and that I never, things never worked out, and why I grew the beard in the first place. And he said, well, the other elders have spoke to you about this, right? And I said, no, they've never mentioned it. They've never mentioned it apart from, name calling. Every now and then I get called Jebediah or Abraham or Methuselah, something like that. And he was shocked. His face went from shock to actually angry. And I know for a fact that he spoke to the elders in my congregation, and that basically caused the elders in my hall to treat me worse after I'd shaved the beard than they did with me having the beard. That's a whole other story for another day. I'm not going to get into that, but I promptly grew the beard back. After that, I was done. Really needed to wake up my wife. I knew a lot about the organization. But I decided I had to do more research. I dug into it. I started reading JW Survey, JW Facts. My insomnia never truly went away, so I'm a night owl. I'd stay up late, and I was just pouring through those websites. That's when I joined Reddit, the XJW Reddit, and I learned so much more from those websites and from Reddit about the UN affiliation, Mexico, Malawi, so many more failed prophecies and predictions. Found out so much more about how horrible they are at child safeguarding. I learned a lot. And an immediate effect of that happening is my attendance just dropped off completely. My attendance dropped right off. And, in effect, and, as a result of that, my wife's attendance dropped off as well. She had her own issues making it to meetings, making it out in service. So now picture, we live in Alberta, Canada, it gets really cold here. Picture a Saturday morning, where it's -30 and it's snowing outside and your alarm goes off at 7 a.m. And, you want to get up and start getting ready for service, but there I am, all comfy cozy in my bed. I'm not getting up. I felt bad. I did feel bad, but it definitely affected my wife's attendance as well. So we both went inactive, I think 2017, early 2018, something like that. And immediately, our friends, our close, wonderful friends, started soft shunning us. Stopped speaking to us, stopped hanging out with us. They'd say hi at the hall, but, we stopped getting invited out. We would try to make plans. Most of the time it was just a no. Oh, we're too busy. Oh, I'm not feeling good, etc., etc. If they did say yes, it would typically, with very few exceptions, the day of, they would cancel. Oh, sorry, I'm not feeling good. Something came up. I can't do it. We can't make it, etc., etc. And then, in this wonderful age of social media, and because they're, very clever, later that night we would see them on Snapchat all together at the bowling alley or playing pool or, up for supper or something like that. So we knew what was going on. It was obvious what was going on. It was very coordinated. We were isolated. We were isolated from our friends. The only friends that we had during that time was some of my wife's family who had been long inactive. And, since we got married, I had been close to them, but we really started getting close with them during that time. They were our only friends. And when the elders got wind of this, they said, you need to stop that. You need to cut that association out. Take that out of your life, Never mind the fact that nobody's speaking to you or lying, constantly lying to you. To cancel plans, cut those loving family members out of your life. But anyways, I needed to talk to Naomi. I just didn't know how. I need to talk to my wife and tell her what was going on, how I felt, but I just didn't know how. I wasn't sure how I was going to go about it. But then, mid-2018, one day, it was a warm day, it was a warm weekend, we played hooky on the weekend, and we went to a lake not far from here, and we spent the day. We played with the dogs, we read books, we ate lunch, we dipped our feet in the water, we drove home. And my wife, I guess she had her suspicions, but she promptly went to the bathroom and took a pregnancy test and came out and told me that we were having a baby, which was one of the best days of my life, but also one of the most stressful days of my life. That was it. I knew I couldn't raise a child in this cult, which, first time I've used the dreaded C word in this video, but there it is. My wife later told me that when she told me she was pregnant, I didn't seem that happy, and that's why. I think I just got up and hugged her, but that's what was going through my mind. I can't do it. I have to tell her. I have to explain it to her. It wasn't long after that we were actually getting ready to go out somewhere. We had our shoes on. We were at the back door about to go in the car. And she mentioned something about we really need to try to make it to the meeting this weekend, etc., something along those lines. And I did like a one of those, something like that. And she said, like, it seems like you don't even care. It seems like you don't care that we're not going. It seems like you have no intention of ever going back. Like, what's going on? What's going on? And I lost it. So I read a lot of posts on Reddit about, oh, here's the ways to slowly and gently, wake your spouse up and don't do this, etc. This was basically, if somebody was to write a what not to do guide, this was it. I blew up. It was verbal diarrhea. It was, why don't you want to go back to the meetings? And I lost it. Absolutely lost it. And I just told her everything. I told her some of it standing at the door. I continued to rant all the way to the car. I went off and just kept on going and telling her everything as we were driving. The worst possible way to try to wake somebody up. Don't do it. Don't do it. It took a lot of convincing for months and months and months. And, she was scared. I was scared. But she woke up. And, I had to show her things like Hassan's bite model and how well we fit that model for behavior of cults. I showed her the Mormons and Scientologists, how much we resemble them. I showed her what Bible scholars have to say about the New World Translation and what a joke it is. She woke up. And, I'm so grateful that she did. Between this time, we were getting ready to move into a new house while she was pregnant. We moved into the new house. Our daughter was born 2 weeks, I think, after we moved into this house, really cutting it close, but we started a really aggressive fade. After that, we never went to meetings again in our new hall. We never attended our new hall. We never got our letters properly sent over. I think the elders in our old hall did. Never gave them our address. Nothing. But family, like they do, they found out what we were doing. They found out that we were intentionally fading. And, Naomi's family my wife's family was really upset. My family was outraged. Particularly my mother. And we kept on telling them, just leave it. It's not a topic for conversation. My wife's family did, they listened, to an extent. But my family, particularly my mother, just wouldn't drop it. Constant text messages, constant doom saying, trying to guilt us with our daughter, telling us that if this is how you really feel, I'm just going to start mourning the baby now. Things like that, horrible things to say, telling us we're as good as dead. But like I mentioned, we never gave our address out to our new congregation. My family took it upon themselves to give our address to somebody who was living in the congregation that we were supposed to be assigned to. They showed up one day with a memorial invite. And it's actually a funny story. They dropped off the memorial invitation. I texted them and I said, hey, yeah, so your pal came over and gave us an invitation. I thought I told you that we didn't want our congregation to have our new address. And my mother texted back and said, Cody, we didn't give her your address. I think Jehovah sent her to you. To which I replied, actually, yeah, she told me that you gave her our address. So that's fun. But yeah, it was one too many. It was too much constant nagging. There was one Saturday night where there was one text too many, and we blew up. My wife and I basically blew up, and it was essentially we were goading each other to say this and say that and say this. Text this, tell them this. Yeah, just going nuts. Going absolutely nuts, texting. We told them everything. Again, what not to do. Every mean thing about the organization that we could say, every criticism about the governing body we could think of, everything. We lost our minds, and I went a step further, and I was exceptionally mean to my mother, basically just personal attacks, insults, things like that. And the way I look back at it, the without thinking about it at the time, the way I think my mind was going is those kids movies where the young boy has the beloved pet, and the townsfolk are coming to kill the pet, the dog, whatever, because they think he has rabies or something like that. So the little boy stands on the hill and tells the dog, "Go, go, get out of here. I never loved you. You're a bad dog." And he throws a rock at him and, get out of here kind of thing. That's what I was trying to do. I just needed her to stop by any means necessary. And right now, those of you who, there's two groups of people watching this video. People who know me personally and by extension know my mother, and people who have never met me before. So the people who have never met me before, there's a very subtle difference, I think, between these two groups. The people who have never met me before, they hear this right now and they're doing this. Whereas the people who know me and by extension know my mother, they're doing this. It's very subtle, very subtle. The mouth is the same. It's the head motion. So yeah. After that, that was a Saturday night. We had it was Sunday morning clarity. We woke up and had that moment where we realized what happened. And I texted my mother very promptly, and I said, you need to keep that to yourself. What I said last night, keep that to yourself. That's private. And she texted me back and said, "I will. Don't worry about that. I'm not telling anybody. I am so embarrassed." So, heartbreak emoji. Sunday evening, so that was Saturday night we texted. Sunday morning I asked her not to say anything. By Sunday evening, I think my wife and I were both down about 100 followers on our social media. My mother and my youngest brother just went on a campaign, if you will. They told everyone. They told absolutely everyone that they could think of. They spread the word, how my wife and I felt and what we said and everything. Friends that I would have died for, they turned their backs. They did exactly what I knew they would do. So I can't say I'm surprised. And we never saw any of them again. For the most part, most of them didn't even text to ask if it was true. They just did what they were programmed to do. And it is programming. The organization, when somebody's inactive, they tell you not to, to limit your association. Don't hang out with those people. Don't spend time around them. And that's basically to prepare them for the day when those people actually leave. And they can tell them, that's it, drop them. So, our friends did what they were programmed to do. Like I said, most of them have never seen our new house. Most of them have never even seen my daughter. But two friends of mine did reach out. The first one invited us to his home, him and his wife, on the condition that we attend the memorial with them, which we did. We had no intention of attending the 2019 memorial, but we did, and we tried to talk to them, and everything that we said, they had an excuse for. I remember in particular when we spoke about child abuse and how horrible the organization is at controlling that and dealing with it. My friend told me, he says, "No, they're great. Did you know that the first thing an elder is supposed to do when he finds out about a case of possible child abuse is call the Bethel to ask if he has to report it?" He saw no issue with that statement, to which I said, the first phone call when you find out about child abuse shouldn't be to somebody to ask if you have to report it. The first phone call should be reporting it. They saw no issue. The second friend came over, him and his wife as well. Much more relaxed atmosphere, a lot less stress. So we said a lot more, but still the same excuses were made. They defended the New Light teaching. They defended the blood doctrine. They told us they're never leaving. They had family that they had lost to death, and they were just determined to see them. in that paradise, so they're not leaving. Yeah, I've never seen any of my friends again since then. We see family on and off. It's very hit and miss. There's definitely a strained relationship there, but before I close this video out, I have a couple things I want to say to first of all, family. You know, it is what it is. You're going to be upset that I'm doing this, but I feel that I have to do this. You made your choices. You acted the way you felt you had to act. You did what you thought you had to do. Obviously, I'm angry. Obviously, I'm bitter. But whatever. If that meant anything to you, if you didn't want me to feel this way, truly, you wouldn't have done what you did. Let's talk to coworkers, people that I've worked with over the years, that got along great with, never really hung out. Why do we never go for drinks? Why do we never hang out? Kind of thing. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Jehovah's Witnesses are not allowed to spend time with people who aren't part of the group. And I know too many people who have and have gotten caught and have gotten in trouble. So I was just being stupid, and I was being a coward and not spending time with you. I apologize. To ex-Jehovah's Witness friends who have left the organization and I lost contact with again. I've gotten back into contact with some of you. I feel I have to apologize. I know too many people that have continued to maintain contact with those who have left, and they've gotten in so much trouble, and I was just not willing to deal with that. I don't know if I was being selfish or cowardly or what, but I apologize. Again, I've gotten back into contact with a few of you, and I cherish your relationship so much. And yeah, again, why now? Why now? Why am I making this video? Why do I feel that I have to disassociate? Why not, just stay faded and do whatever I want to do, kind of thing. I see that argument all the time, that back and forth on Reddit, between should I disassociate or should I just stay faded. Why do I feel I had to do this? I refuse to look over my shoulder anymore while smoking a cigar, while shopping for holiday decorations. I refuse to look over my shoulder anymore if I'm at a restaurant celebrating my wife or my daughter's birthday. I refuse. I refuse to leave the door open for any of my family to try to indoctrinate my daughter. It's not happening. I refuse to have my name counted as a member of an organization, even as an inactive member of an organization that lets their members die if they need a blood transfusion, that doesn't protect their members from child abuse, that will shun their members if they break the rules, and encourages parents to kick their children out if they break those rules. I refuse to be counted on that list. I refuse for my daughter to miss out in school if I remain faded and we just didn't publicly celebrate any holidays. I refuse for my daughter to miss out because there might be another witness kid in the class, and mommy and daddy are still undercover from their old organization. They're still in hiding. I refuse. And again, the biggest reason that I disassociate myself, instead of just being disfellowshipped, living my life, putting up Christmas lights and getting disfellowshipped, I disassociate myself because I refuse to be kicked out of a cult that I've been trying to escape since I was 15 or 16 years old. I refuse. Basically, what it comes down to is, you can't fire me. I quit. So, that's it in a nutshell. That's the end of the video. I want to thank a few people. I want to thank everybody on Reddit. Anybody I'm on Reddit. I contribute to Reddit. I love contributing to Reddit. I love that community. I don't contribute as much as I've wanted to, because for the simple reason that for whatever for whatever reason, too many of my stories are too well known. I've tried to be very nondescript and not give too many personal details on Reddit, and twice somebody has direct messaged me and said, "You're Cody Bottas, right?" So yeah, fail there. But I'm definitely gonna contribute more on Reddit now. I have so many stories to tell. I have so many stories that I want to put out there, and I have so many stories, in fact, that since November last year, I've actually been writing a book. No idea when it's going to be finished. I'm 7 chapters in. I think 55 pages, 22,000 words, something silly like that. I'm not sure, but all the stuff that I'm not going to talk about here, all the details, all the little pieces that fit in the cracks in between, all the bad behavior that I alluded to, living as a Jehovah's Witness, rebelling against something he doesn't believe in. It's all going to be in there. And I'm having a lot of fun writing it, a lot of fun going over those memories. Again, I don't know when it's going to be done. I don't know if I'm going to self-publish or look for a publisher. If anybody watching this knows a publisher who they think might be interested, please, forward them this video, show them my Reddit page. I'm going to post a lot more on there. I'm going to try to post a lot more on there. But yeah, lastly, I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to Reddit, the XJW Reddit. I want to say thank you to my XJW friends who I've gotten back in touch with. I want to say thank you to the resources that I've used over the years. JW Survey, JW Facts, and the YouTube pages. John Cedar's channel, Lloyd Evans, and XJW Fifth, and Telltale Atheist, and all of them, everybody. Mark O'Donnell, and everybody who has given me the information that I need to not just finish off my own waking up process, but to help me wake my wife up and to get out of this horrible organization. I thank you so much, particularly Lloyd Evans. Thank you for the videos that you put out, the way you present the information, the way you present the research. Just helped me a lot. So I wanted to say thank you, but that is it. I officially disassociate myself from the Jehovah's Witness organization. I, Cody Bottas, disassociate. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye.